Are you looking for a proper English loudspeaker that gives you everything that you're expecting, but maybe also a little bit of what you weren't? Then you might be looking for the Monitor Gold 200. There's some cool things about the Gold 200 that set it apart from what we would generally think of the traditional English loudspeaker. But before we get into those details, don't forget to subscribe to the Gramophone channel and click that bell icon down at the corner so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming highlights or upcoming Audio U content. And so with us today are the Gold 200s. These are the second largest speaker in the second best series of product produced by Monitor, that is, at least for the hi-fi market. So what makes these special? Well, there's a lot of cool tech and some very fun features packed into these that you don't really find replicated in too many other places, if at all. And it's why I think that while these sound like a proper English loudspeaker, like I said earlier, it's because of their unique approach to design and some of the very specialized technologies that they're using that just makes them a little bit different too. Let's go from top to bottom. Up top, we'll start with the tweeter. Notice that the tweeter is actually hiding behind this permanent grill here, which is really good because it means that curious little fingers from the small ones won't go poke, poke, poke and destroy your tweeter immediately. These are actually protected. However, what's behind there, you might be able to see it through the camera, is a little bit different. That's not a cone. That's not a dome. That's what most of us call an AMT, but Monitor calls monitor pleated diaphragm. Basically, what an AMT or an MPD is, take a thin piece of ribbon-like material from a compound much like a mylar or a fine film, stretch it out, but then fold it into little creases and then set it up much like the look of an accordion. And from each of those creases, this material will be compressed and stretched out, compressed and stretched out. And it is this folding motion that actually creates the sounds. Moving on to the mid-range, you're going to notice that we have a relatively small but very functional mid-range, and it's integrated into this same cavity as the tweeter. We've seen this from some other makes of speaker as well, almost creating a vocal unit, if you will. And this is made out of a very cool material. This has, on the very back, a thin little layer of carbon fiber. And then if you look, there's actually this honeycomb pattern just very gently etched into the front of this woofer. That is actually the honeycomb pattern you're seeing behind. That's made out of Nomex, a very rigid but very light material. And then there is a tiny, thin, just enough layer of aluminum magnesium deposited on top of that. Okay, now let's talk about the woofers. What we're going to talk about here is not too different from here, except larger and just a little bit of a different design. We've got the same carbon fiber, Nomex honeycomb, C-cam cap design. Lightweight, rigid. That detail is necessary in any part of the speaker. But we have this much larger, and it's also a lot easier to notice one other detail I'm going to talk about. Look at this surround. It actually might seem kind of backwards, except this is a good thing. Rather than having the lip of this surround bubble out from the speaker and actually create a bit of a barrier around the edge of it, this is recessed and it stretches the other direction. The reason for this is the sound rolling off the edges of the cone here is not going to be interrupted by anything getting in the way, and you're not going to have any frequencies that you're trying to throw into the room already encountering their first and very detrimental point of reflection on themselves. That's a big detail that a lot of other speaker manufacturers don't bother with. While surrounds are not all that bad, this is a fine point that squeezes out that little bit extra. And this is what Monitor's doing to differentiate themselves. So, we have in this speaker a pretty space-agey appearance to begin with, a space-age tweeter design with the material and the concept, a mid-range and woofer that use space-age materials, 3 different kinds, with a space-age implementation. So if you're looking for something that brings you that traditional high-resolution, very clear English sound, but manages to do so with a little difference of character, but with a big design departure and state-of-the-art technology that exemplifies the best in what we think about in British audio, the Gold 200, or really anything in the Gold series, needs to be at the top of your list of considerations. And you'll find these here at Gramophone for $5,500 a pair. And if you want to learn more, go to gramophone.com. You can read more about Monitor audio, check out more of our videos on Monitor, as we are going to have a playlist for these products, And of course, stop by our showrooms or give us a call. You'll find us in Timonium, Columbia, and Gaithersburg, Maryland. We've got monitor on display everywhere, and we'd love to demonstrate it for you so you can make an informed decision and go home with what your ears like. Also, of course, while you're out and about, don't forget about the Kitchen Design Center in Hunt Valley, because if you're thinking about your next home improvement project and you want to come up with a great design and maybe even need some help with the build too, they will provide you everything you need. All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out today. If you learned anything, give this video a like, chat with me in the comments, ask any questions you might have, whether it be about the Gold 200 or anything we've covered, really. Thanks again for being here, and be seeing you.